Welcome into episode number 42 of the Ask Tony Show. Thank you guys so much for being here once again. Another day, another awesome guest, guys. Today, I'm super excited about the topic that I'm going to discuss today because it's one that, quite frankly, is very dear to my heart. And I have a tremendous guest, Nuria Rivera. She is a CEO, she's a founder, she's a speaker, trainer, leader. I mean, she is just a complete badass, does a ton of cool stuff. And I'm very honored and grateful that she has accepted my invitation to be here on the show. So Nuria, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much, Tony. This is really exciting. And thanks for such a wonderful introduction. I'm pumped.
Yes, 100%. Nuria is someone that I've been following for a long time. She has her own podcast. She does a lot of really cool stuff that maybe she'll get into with NAHREP and different other things. Nuria, tell us a little bit about your background, who you are, what you do. Share a little bit with our audience.
Yeah, so I was born in Mexico. My father is Mexican. On my dad's side of the family's from there. My mom's side of the family is all from Spain. And we migrated here when I was 11 years old. And growing up in an immigrant family, it really inspired me to want to create a big life in this country, right? Like everything that I knew about the United States was, wow, this is a place where your dreams can really come true. And I really believed that at such a young age. And so my parents bringing us over here, they took such a risk to come over, as many of you can probably relate to. And I remember being a child and just wanted to do some extracurricular activities. And I would ask my mom and dad, hey, can I join dance or gymnastics or basketball? And the answer was always like, Nuria, no hay dinero. You know, it was in meaning there's not money to do that. And so there was just this defining moment in my life where I heard that one more time. And I just remember getting so upset. Not at my parents, you know, because I know that they were doing the very best they could, but I was so upset. And I just remember declaring to the universe, saying, I am never going to live my life like this. And and it was that defining moment for me where I made that decision of knowing that if I wanted to create something out of life, it was going to be up to me to do it. And if I wanted to make something of myself, it was going to be up to me. And so ever since I was little, I've been just working. I remember in high school, I would, you know, have enough credits and I would leave school so that I could go do work release, which meant I was able to go work. I've always, you know, I've never been afraid of working hard. So I've had multiple jobs at once, paid my way through college. Just the community college, did my 2-year degree. And so that work ethic has been installed in my blood since I was little. And I got into the real estate industry in 2006. And I was 22 years old. My dad was a real estate agent. I got introduced to the title and escrow side of things. And that's how I got my foot in the door and built my business, lost my business because of the crash and moving companies. I had signed a non-compete. I didn't know I had signed. So not only did I have to start all over, I had to start all over in the crash. And so did that whole thing for about a 9-year period. And then I just had this desire of really redefining the experience within the title and escrow industry. I felt it was very old and boring and everyone was doing things in the exact same way. And I really wanted to disrupt that and really create a celebration of that moment when people are coming in to do their closings. It's so important. And it's such it's one of the highlights in life. And so I really wanted to focus on redefining that. So I had this idea in my head for about a 4-year period of what this could look like. And it was another defining moment for me when I was on my way to Washington, D.C. for a NAHREP policy conference. And I was about to write down my pros and cons, whether I should do this or not do this. And before I could write down anything, Tony, I just had this overwhelming feeling come over me and I just started crying. And that was my inspired moment that I just knew this was bigger than me and I needed to take off with it. So here we are 5.5 years later, where I finally launched my business, and it's been such a ride. It's been like the hardest thing I've ever done, the most fun thing I've ever done, the most challenging thing, like all the things, all the emotions in between, all the success and the pain and everything. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. And the person that it's made of me has been quite extraordinary.
Yeah, that's the word I would use, quite extraordinary. And I mean, that is such an amazing story. We could be here all day just talking about that one story that you just shared. But the specific reason why I wanted to bring Nuria on the show, and as you guys just heard, she started her own business, she lost her own business, she had to restart. And so I was part of a conversation a couple of weeks ago where there was an entrepreneur that was sharing that they were trying to branch out. They were trying to scale. And basically they were going to open up new locations. And so, he was kind of talking about who he wanted to have run his branch, if you will. And there was another gentleman who was part of the conversation that seemed to know a little bit about his team. And so he said, hey, why don't you employ such and such, that was a female, to run your branch? And so he started, saying, yeah, I've thought about that, but she's a little bit emotional, this and that. And so then the conversation kind of turned to whether or not women are capable, or I guess as capable as men, to take on some of those big, leadership roles. And so as soon as I was overhearing the conversation, I kind of gave in my 2 cents, but as soon as I left, I thought I have to talk about this on the show. And immediately I thought of Nuria, because, she has proven that stigma of women maybe not being as capable of being able to succeed in those high level positions just is not true. And so talk to us a little bit about that, Nuria. Obviously you've had a lot of success, but is that something that you have felt? Is that something that you think is real, or is it kind of more myth than reality?
Quite an interesting conversation you were pulled into there, Tony.
Yeah, for sure.
I believe that whatever we believe is what we create in this life. And so I put so much time into protecting my mindset that when those situations do come up, I am very hard-headed in my response, because my belief is fully there on, I know who I am, I know what I want to create in this life, but it takes a lot of background work to have that type of mindset. And not that I don't at some moments, get stuck in my head and I kind of go down the rabbit hole. And I also, just like all of you, question myself sometimes. And sometimes I'm wondering, am I the right person to do this? Like, all human beings have the thoughts. It's a part of the human experience, but I feel that perhaps the difference a little bit there is that, not a little bit, the major difference is the fact that I can get myself out of those moments and knowing like who I truly am. And the purpose behind my mission here is way more powerful than anybody's opinion or limiting belief on what they feel life should look like, or business, or women in business, or any minority in business. And so to answer your question, the truth is that does still exist. So although I have a strong mindset, I also know that is still happening in our world. And so I can't also ignore it or pretend it's not there. But what I can say about that, Tony, is I believe that human beings are gifted, and every single person does have a strength and a gift to share with the world. And maybe you call it purpose, gift, whatever term you want to place on that. But I feel that it's so important that you surround yourself with people, companies, businesses who support you being who you truly are. And whether you're a woman or a man, or it doesn't matter what sex preference you have, it doesn't matter your culture, where you were from, the color of your skin, I really believe in equal opportunity for the person as who they are, their skills and their gifts to share. And so there is a lot of that misconception on, maybe women not having the ability, or we're too emotional, or things like that, just from the actual conversation you had. But I truly believe that, yes, we are emotional beings, and so are men too, though. And I will say that the masculine has been really suppressed historically to not be emotional, not be allowed to share emotions. And so I really would love to see that shift in just humanity, because that's not true. And then also what's not true is that women don't have to play in that huge masculinity role to still lead and to still build businesses. And I think it's very beautiful where we can have both the masculine energy and the feminine energy. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. I'm talking about the energy behind yourself, right? But staying true to your essence and how you lead in that way. And I feel that my way of leading, I definitely lead from the heart, and I definitely believe in people and empower people in their roles. And so I would completely disagree, and I would love to have been in that conversation that you were at. Just to bring
I was like, if she was here,
just to bring like a different perspective of that's not necessarily true. And let me share with you why a woman could be a great leader in any type of role, because we bring that, just that nurturing, that love, that intuition into something that is needed in business. I really truly feel and believe that if we could continue growing businesses with both of the energies combined, the world would be such a different place. And so there's this space for both. Does that make sense? I'm not saying only women. I'm not saying only men. Like, that is just not who I am. But I am saying there's absolutely a space for both. But the suppression of the feminine is like, man, you guys are really missing out on some powerhouses out there that can really lead in a different way.
Yeah, no, I agree. And my contribution to that conversation was, well, I disagree. I don't think it's a male female issue that we're talking about. I think it's just the qualifications of the specific person. Because if we're talking about somebody being over emotional, I know a lot of dudes that are super emotional, and I know a lot of women that can handle a lot of stress, and they do a very good. So I don't think the conversation is male or female. I think it's just individually based. Is this individual the right person for the job? Not should it be a man or should it be a woman? And so I completely agree with everything you said. I love that you mentioned the feminine energy and the masculine energy. Talk to us a little bit more about that. And you talk about having a balance, both being able to coexist in your business. How do you manage that? I know that you have men and women employed, but how do you kind of keep that balance? Because that is a very interesting concept that I think a lot of people have not thought of in that way.
Yeah. I definitely do have a balance within my business, but one of our core values is diversity. And so a very magical piece of my business where I took it from one level to the next was when I was able to realize the power of masterminding with my own team. And so although I'm the visionary and I create the goals, I create the whole thing, it's been very powerful to say, here's the vision, and then what are your ideas to get there? And because we have such a diverse group where both energies are involved in, I celebrate for people to be able to be who they are in my space. And so everyone that works here knows that they're free, they're able to be free in who they truly are. And so it creates a safe space for them to be able to share ideas and create and become innovators. And, we took that word, obviously, innovation title, and it's like, they're all innovators. And so we really encourage that creativity. Therefore, it allows for them to, in whatever energy they're feeling, and the masculine energy is so great because that is like let's go, let's do this, let's make things happen, right? Like, that's your action. But then there's this feminine side where that's usually where I play all the time in my creation. It has to be. That's where I have to stop just with the thought and the inner chatter and connect, meditate, and then like, what ideas can I pull through that will make us like take things to a completely different level. So creativity is super important for me. Like, I'm super artistic. And so that's very feminine energy, right? And so yeah, vision, creation, your inner child, like all of those things that you can play with within business is wonderful. And then the masculine energy is that, right? Like, let's close the deal, let's make things happen, the action being taken into it. So the yin and the yang with like it is a balance. It's like you have to have both for it to continue. You know, you think of huge businesses that are super successful, like the Googles, the Apples, and if you study their business, they're very much that way, right? They have a space for creativity, very much a lot of creativity, but they're also like inventing and creating and then taking major action. And so of course there has to be a balance. If you're just leading from the taking action, you're going to burn yourself out, and you're going to burn all of your employees out. Nobody's going to want to stay with you for a long time. And typically that energy is always like go, 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 achieve. Yes, we're excited for 5 minutes. Next. And there's no like room to celebrate, to like reflect, to be able to see all the wins that everyone's achieving and be able to like enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey. Like if you're just next seeking, you're just like running, you're chasing the carrot. And that's not the point of life. If you're just chasing the carrot and just that masculine energy, you feel empty. It's unfulfilled, right? And so I feel that's probably the biggest like advice I can give is that playing in both creates fulfillment, joy, happiness. You're really there to like help support other people, watch them grow. And it's that beautiful collaboration.
I love that. Yeah. And actually I can relate to that 100%. For a long time, I was that, on to the next thing and no one deal, get the next one. And who's under contract and how many showings. And it became this thing where you use the perfect example, just chasing the carrot. And I wasn't, I had to learn to kind of take a step back and appreciate my team, celebrate the wins, just like you mentioned. And it really does, it's a good thing, obviously, for the psyche of your team, but also just in what my experience was, just it was good for business because they were happier coming to work, they felt appreciated, they felt like, as you mentioned, they have a safe space. And so not only do I believe 100% in the concept of having a diverse team and what that can bring, but at the same time, I kind of speak to this a little bit, but what happened to me is it really helped boost productivity. It helped, morale. People enjoyed coming to work. People enjoyed coming to trainings because they knew that now I was able to take a step back and kind of appreciate those wins. So have you felt that also from a productivity standpoint, that mission or that ideal that you have has helped you?
Oh, 100%. It's fun to have thought about the type of culture I could create, but watching it actually happen here and seeing that the team really does enjoy coming to work and they do love hanging around each other. Like, it's unbelievable to actually watch it and experience it versus just envision it, right? And so because it is that type of culture where they know that I care about them deeply, that I'm invested in their growth, that I'm invested in them becoming their best selves in this process, of course they care back. For any leaders who are listening to this or entrepreneurs who are perhaps wanting to start your own business, the biggest on all of my studies, and I've dedicated a whole decade of self-development. I'm a nerd, mega nerd. Okay. I study a lot. I invest a lot of money in myself for growth. And the biggest takeaway that I can tell you is that the people and the talent you have are the most important thing for your organization. And it will always be. And so not only do you need to become obsessed with your clients and really understand who they are, you also need to become obsessed with your employees, because they are like, you need to treat them just as well as you would treat a client. That's what I think the biggest misconception in the old way of doing business, perhaps more that hierarchy, very patriotic way of doing it, but that's not it. It is a two-way relationship. And so once your employees and team members can feel your true care for them, of course they're going to want to be like fully committed to making sure that things are happening as they should. So 100% yes.
I love it. And I have a lot of conversations with young people, entrepreneurs, dreamers, people that kind of ask me, they kind of they either have a business idea or they want to be an agent or they want to do something, but they're in so many occasions, there's kind of this feeling of the odds are stacked against me, right? There are these real challenges. There's not as much opportunity. The opportunity always just seems to go to, the white person or whatever the case may be. But there's this, it seems like from the beginning, there's this natural pessimism. And even from like the family that is supporting the individual, like if they make it, it's like, well, 1 in a million shot. You know what I mean? It's like, we wish you the best, but there always seems to be just kind of in the back of their mind, this idea that it's going to be super hard. There's not a lot of opportunities. It's going to suck. And so a lot of people shy away from jumping in because they feel like the deck is just completely stacked against them from day one. So to somebody who feels that way, you having gone through that process, what would be your advice for someone who feels that there's just, maybe they're Latino or they're female or they're gay or they're black and they're like, dude, like, I'm not going to win. Like, it's just too hard.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things I can say around that, but most importantly, you are the creator of your life. And yes, it's not easy. And everyone wants the glory without the pain. And pain is inevitable. If you think that in life you're not supposed to have problems, that's the first problem you have. Because the bigger the problems you're able to resolve, the higher you'll get paid. And so being able to overcome
Say that one more time for the people in the back.
Yeah. So the harder the problems you're able to resolve, the higher you'll get paid. And so starting out with being able to solve your own problems in life, and trust me, I had all odds, like all bets against me too, right? So I was an immigrant girl. I had to learn the language. I'm a woman in business, and it has not been easy. I have had bullies. I've had different situations where people want to belittle me or put me down because they just thought, who's this young girl coming into our industry? She has no idea what she's doing. Like, ha, 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 right? And so you have to be able to believe in yourself and knowing that you, of course, can. And being able to get out of those problems and just shift your mindset from all odds are against me to I am the creator of my life and I am going to build something and do whatever it takes. Because when you really want something, you will find a way. You will. If there was like somebody that you truly loved, let's say there was a fire in your house and your pet or your family member was in there and there was a fire, you would do whatever it took to get in there and save their lives. And at that point, it wouldn't matter. You would burn the boats, as Tony Robbins calls it. So when you want something really badly, nothing can get in your way. And so, yes, it's hard. I'm not saying it's not hard. It's never been easy. Talk to anybody who's had high success in life. They're never going to tell you, oh, it was so easy to just get here. Never, ever, ever. And so, but you can either choose the pain that will like help you create the life that you want, or you can choose the pain and not achieving what you know you're capable of. So just it's such a simple, it's really you making a decision today and choosing to do whatever it takes to get there, and you can.
Yeah, I love it. So much there, guys. So much there. And I think that you've touched on two key things that I want to kind of zoom in on. Number one, understanding that those things are going to happen. Like, they're inevitable. There is no perfect situation. So I think that if you begin with that in mind and knowing that you're going to have some issues, but then you have the belief that you're going to be able to solve them, I think you're off on the right foot, versus kind of hoping that everything's going to be perfect and you're never going to run into these terrible things that people talk to you about. I think that that is a healthier place to start. And earlier you said something critical, which is attaching yourself to the right people, which is something that I believe in 1000%. You have to find your tribe, or you have to find people that are on the same boat as you, that are trying to do the same thing, that can motivate you, lift you up, people that you can also help and support. So talk to us a little bit about how you found your people when you were first starting out. Entrepreneurship can get very lonely. So how did you go about finding your support group, your friends and your people that kind of kept you in the boat when things got tough?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel that I found them through seeking more. Um, and so events I attended, conferences I would attend, um, the books I was reading, and then, people like, oh, I read that book. And so seeking to be in my path of seeking to become more is how I have found higher level people that help me get very uncomfortable so that I can get to the next level of life. And because let me tell you, if you're the coolest like person in your group of friends, and you're making the most money out of your group of friends, and you're feeling so fresh and looking good, and whatever, that's awesome, but that's not helping you grow.
True.
Not to say that you can still be friends with these people, that's not what I'm saying, but how much time are you choosing to spend in this circle? Because the people that are at higher levels than you, that you can have opportunities to learn from, are the people who will help pull you up. And it happens so many times in life. I've probably gone through it about 4 times, where I get very uncomfortable. I'm in a room full of people that are doing way bigger things than I are at way higher levels than I, and it's so intimidating.
Yeah.
But then in a few years or a few months, I find myself really leveling up to the same level. And don't ever forget the value that you have in those circles, you guys, because we can get into those holes of, like, oh, well, I have nothing to offer here. Like, I'm just the
It happens so
small
much.
fish in this big pond. And that's not true. You're there for a reason. And so whenever you feel that you have something of value to share it. And I would in those situations. And I was nervous. Sometimes I was like shaking, because I was like, um, and I would just share, and I would bring value to those conversations. So be of value in those circles and seek to become more. And that's what worked for me.
Yeah, it's so key. I went through a very, very similar process. And I think that the first step is, as you mentioned, you gotta go after it. I mean, the people, cool, great people that can inspire aren't gonna just come knock on your door. They're not gonna DM you. They're not, I mean, they're out there doing their thing, and you have to go search for them. So I went through something very similar. My business was going really well. I made the Forbes Real Estate Council. I was feeling cool. And then I started, hanging out with someone that I'm sure Jimmy Rex. And so when I, him and his buddies, and I sat there and I was like, dude, like, these guys are doing crazy things. And so it really got me out of my comfort zone to see what other people were doing. And I do agree that at first there's kind of this kind of fear of being intimidated. But if you listen to these people, and here's what really helped me, they want to help you. Like, winners want to see other people win. And so if you can find them, whether it's paying for a training, as you mentioned, going to seminars, like, seminars cost money. You have to invest in yourself. You have to put yourself in the room with these people and then provide value, and they will reciprocate. They will always, always reciprocate. So I love that, Nuria. And I wanted to just here kind of wrapping up. I also, about 6 months ago, I had a different conversation with a female CEO. And I want to kind of throw this at you and get your thoughts on this. So she was in a similar situation. She was not expanding, but she kind of needed like a higher executive level person within her company. And so she was screening candidates, and she said something very interesting. She said that she felt pressured to hire a woman, and preferably a woman of color, because she considered herself a feminist. And she said, if I hire a man, then I'm undermining my beliefs and my feminist movement. So to that, you say what?
I just say that I really, you should be able to be free in your creation and in your business and the development of it. I can see why perhaps she would feel like she's not supporting the people she wants to support, because I know people are passionate about different groups and different things. But what I will say is that I think a big part of the problem with our world is that we continue to label all these people and all these things and put everyone in a certain bucket. And I feel that actually holds us back more than moves us forward. And so to me, it's like, why are we so concerned about what this person looks like, or, where they come from, or if they're male or female? I think that there should be more emphasis and focus on who are we attracting, and also who is that best person for that specific role, because there is a space for everybody, right? And so I mean, the way I would I would like resolve that situation if it were me. I'm always going to go with my heart and who I know would be the best person for that position. Yeah. And not discriminate against anybody, give people the opportunity to rise. And it doesn't matter what they look like, where they're from, just any of those limitations or buckets. Like, why aren't we creating a world where everybody has opportunities to shine in their gifts and in their strengths? Like, that's what we need more of, not, oh, well, I feel the pressure that I need to hire this person, but no, that limits growth, that limits your business. I would recommend following your heart, your intuition, and hiring the person that will be the very best possible person to take on that role. And that's what I do.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, there has to be a balance. You can't go, both extremes are terrible. And so you have to find a happy medium where you're inclusive, you seek diversity to give, obviously minorities and,
yeah, absolutely
are limited, to give them opportunities, but at the same time, you don't reverse discriminate, if you will, to say, oh, like if I have a white dude in my office, people are going to hate, you know what I mean? Like it basically becomes that, to where now you find yourself doing the very thing that you don't want people to do to you. So I love that.
Where focus goes, energy flows. And so if you're focused on that, that's what you'll keep attracting. So don't focus on that. Just focus on, we're a diverse group of people. We're attracting everybody. Everyone's included. Everyone's able to be free in who they truly are. And that does create diversity automatically, because that's the focus of the business, right? And so just focus on the right things.
I love it. And so, as we do with every single show, Nuria, this has been amazing. I've learned a ton. I'm going to go back through this, write notes. I'm going to listen to it. I have a ton of people I know are going to get a ton of value from this. Are going to be inspired. But as I do with every single person that comes on my show, give us your top 3 tips for someone who is some sort of minority, whether that be race, gender, sexual preference, whatever the case may be, for any minority that would like to get where you are at. What are your top 3 tips for them?
The first one would be believe in yourself. And I know that's harder sometimes to actually do, but nurturing yourself, really understanding who you are as a human being, what your gifts are, where you come from, like really just getting to know yourself in deep levels will create that self-love, which then becomes a belief, because it doesn't matter if someone comes to you and says, you're not this, you are that, right? The labels, the putting in people into buckets. When you're able to have full certainty of who you are inside, it doesn't matter what people say, because you're like, okay, whatever. It doesn't even face you because you know who you are, right? And so doing the work to learn who you are, to learn your gifts, and to be able to visualize who you want to become and really believe in that is super important. The second one would be protecting your mindset. As I talked about it, I'm like obsessed with it. So I'm sure you've heard of all the kinds of tools that you can do: morning routines, night routines, books you read, who you surround yourself with, what are you listening to, what shows are you watching, like how are you protecting your mind? Because it is the most important thing to protect, because it all starts there. Yeah. And then the third would be to highly invest in you. I've spent so much money the last decade in investing in my growth and in myself. And Jim Rohn talks about this: work harder on you than you work on your job. So work harder on you than you work on your business, which means, yes, like investing in you. And how I've been able to scale and get to these massive levels and getting to know some incredible people, it's because I've invested in me. I've spent the money to go to the seminar. I've spent the money to get coaching. Again, I'm not even going to give you the amount, but it's been a ton of money for me to be able to grow.
You just joined the Tony Robbins Platinum, is it partnership? Yeah, like that's not cheap, guys. So Nuria has absolutely done that. I vouch for that 100%.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's $85,000 investment for that platinum partnership, plus 2 plat trips. So it ends up being over $100,000. And I'm not saying that, I actually don't ever talk about that, but I'm just giving you guys an idea of what people are willing to do to be able to invest in themselves for growth in their business, for growth in life. And so if you want to meet better people, if you want to have a better circle, it's like invest in yourself and you will meet the people. You will get pulled with others, like you will rise with others because you're willing to bet on you.
Yeah, I love it. No, those 3 are absolutely key. And so just to wrap up, Nuria, tell us a little bit what you've got going on. I know that you've got some exciting things coming up. So before we let you go, tell us a little bit of how people can find you, how can they plug into you, learn from you. What do we got?
Yeah, I'm actually starting, I do business coaching on the side as well, and have a limited amount of time to do that at this moment. But I have a mastermind group session that's coming up in April. And I already have a few people signed up, around 10 people. I haven't really been heavily advertising it. But if you go to my Instagram handle, it's Nuria, Nuria.p, as in Paola, .Rivera, Rivera. And you click the link in the bio, you'll see the upcoming events. And it's one of my most economical packages. So it's going to be a 6-week program where I'm going to help you guys continue building your businesses. And so it's only $150 investment. Talking about investing in yourselves, it's a great opportunity to get access to some of the things that I've learned and some of my mistakes that you don't have to do, so that you can avoid that pain. But yes, so that's something coming up that I'd love. If you're interested in growth in your business, then it's a great program to take.
Love it. Are these in person? Are they virtual? Both?
They're all virtual. Yeah. And I have people from different states registered. So it's all through Zoom.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great, guys. Well, check her out. Follow her on Instagram, guys. Ask her any questions you guys have. She does videos. She does coaching, training. Check out her stuff. I highly recommend it. And with that being said, guys, this has been episode number 42 of the Ask Tony Show. Nuria, thank you so much for your time. Until next time.
Thank you guys. Have a great day.